Again, good morning. Welcome, welcome. What a pleasure to be with you guys. So, guys, my name is Roberto Baptiste. This is the Baptiste Show. We have about an hour together where we'll be discussing a few topics of interest to you all. Uh, the Baptiste Show comes here every morning, Monday through Friday, 10 to 11:30 a.m. The name is Roberto Baptiste. We talk about everything here when it comes to politics, the news, everything that you can think of, but of course, business and social issues that matter to you all. So again, the name is Roberto Baptiste. This is the Baptiste Show. What a pleasure to be with you all. Um, in this past week or so, there has been a lot of tension at the border of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. To take a look at what's going on, it's very, very important to dive a little deeper into the history of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Oftentimes, we hear of these issues, but we have no idea of the context of why these things matter and why we should pay a closer look to it. If you're in the United States of America, why is this of importance to you? If you're in Africa, why is it of importance to you? So we're gonna discuss that. But before we dive into it, we do have some major headlines as well that's worth talking about, especially if you're in Africa. The Nigerian president of the Football Federation was reinstated. So that's something that we'll be talking about because FIFA was willing and ready to sanction the Nigerian president for corruption. I'm sorry, FIFA was willing to reinstate him while the country's president was actually trying to jail him for corruption. So we're going to dive a little deeper into that. And obviously, college football went on this weekend. So that's something worth talking about as well. The Colorado Buffs had a crazy, crazy game against Colorado State. So that's always interesting. So let's dive into Haiti and the Dominican Republic. More recently, Haiti and the Dominican Republic have been in the news. Dominican Republic actually decided via their president to close the border between them and Haiti. What a lot of people don't understand, perhaps, because oftentimes they assume that Haiti and Dominican Republic are just one island, and obviously they share way more than they should be divided by. Well, unfortunately, that is not the case. So we took it upon ourselves to give you a brief history of the two countries. Yes, it's one island, but two countries with a very, very difficult past and history, which complicates the present and the future for both countries sharing the island of Hispaniola. Okay. The history begins in 1492 when Christopher Columbus actually landed near what is today Cape Haitian in Haiti, the second city in Haiti, right? So Spain was the first to colonize that area of Hispaniola. So they covered both sides of the island, the east and the west. As a result, uh, they started to colonize the local population, recover the gold and other resources that were there. But things were about to change very quickly. Now, you have the French. At the time, they did not have the naval capability yet to conquer much of the New World. So, what the French ended up doing, they were actually pirates and they were trying to really conquer territories that way through the illegal manners of piracy. Whereas they would see Spanish ship and then so on and so forth. So eventually, what they decided to do was to settle. Once the French decided to settle on the eastern part of the island, actually, they started to grow crops and started to build a colony. The context is important because now, on one side of the island, you had the Spaniards, you have the Spanish colonizers, and then on the other side, you had the French, still dealing with the local population, the Taino Indians that occupied that land mainly. Now, between 1680 and 1776, something shifted, something changed. A priest by the name of Las Casas actually brought up the idea to bring African slaves to work the fields and work the gold mines on both sides of the island because they could do the labor more seriously than the native Tainos who were dying by the thousands. One of the greatest genocides in our history that unfortunately, I don't think we talk about enough. We acknowledge enough. So between that period of 1680 and 1776, yes, that date is important because you do remember U.S. independence. About 800,000 black African slaves were brought from Africa to the island of Hispaniola, which means between today's Haiti and the Dominican Republic, those were the numbers. Now, keep in mind, the French and Spanish colonizers were a few. The native Taino Indians were dying. I mean, they were being exterminated. Now you have this population that were brought over by force to work the fields, to occupy both sides of the island. So now you're going to have the genesis of two nations, Haiti and the Dominican Republic. On one end, you started having some Spanish having relationship with some of the African slaves. So now you started having a Spaniard mulatto kind of group developing in the Dominican Republic. On the other side, you had the French doing the same. So you have another mix of mulattoes of French and African descent. Now things were okay for a while because the Spaniards were doing what they do on the one side, and then the French were doing what they do on the other side. However, things got a bit complicated because in 1791, the Haitian Revolution began, where now you have some of the slaves from the Haitian side that decided, enough is enough. We have the numbers. We are being treated worse than animals here. We have to do something about it. But in 1792, the Haitians started their revolution. They poisoned, they killed, they burned the fields, they ensured that they were never slaves again. So this revolt that started in 1791 took about 13 years for the Haitians to free their side of the island. But it was not as simple as that because you had Toussaint Louverture, one of the main figures, of that revolution. He was switching side back and forth because he wanted to free the slaves. As a result, whatever colonizer gave him the necessary means to do so, he was with them. So at one point, he was with the Spanish. So obviously developing ties on the other side of the island. At another point, he turned towards the French, again, developing ties with the French. Eventually settled with the French when Napoleon Bonaparte decided, you know what, I'm going to name you governor of the island. Governor of Haiti at that point, and just make sure you keep the Spaniards at bay because the Spaniards themselves, they wanted to take over that side of the island as well. So Toussaint Louverture managed to do that until he was betrayed by Napoleon Bonaparte and imprisoned in France, where he ended up dying in solitary confinement. One of the greatest kidnapping in our history. Okay? Why is that important? Because even though the French and Spaniards established borders, you had no borders between the two group of people that were trying to free themselves. Because at the end of the day, those folks had one common language, freedom. That's what they were both seeking on both sides of the island. So once that happens, Haiti became independent in 1804. The Dominicans now, they gained their own independence from Spain in 1820. So now you had two freed nations, La República Dominicana on one side and Haiti on the other side. But things were not going so well for the Dominicans. So as a result, they were only independent for 1 year. In 1822, Haiti occupies the entire island following continued internal strife in both Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Haiti's president then, Jean-Pierre Boyer, actually ruled over the entire island with no opposition. That started in 1820. Now, from 1822 to 1844, Haiti occupied that side of the island. In 1844, the Dominican wins their independence, this time from Haiti after 22 years under Haitian rule. Unlike most Latin American countries, the Dominican Republic's Independence Day marks its freedoms from Haiti, not from Spain. That's extremely important to understand because that's going to give you the context of what's going on right now in Haiti when we get into that. Now, keep in mind, sugar was the gold mine at the time of colonization. So the Dominican Republic, right after their independence, invested heavily into their sugarcane production. Meanwhile, Haiti's decline started because Haiti had the embargo from France, internal strife between Haitian leaders, the assassination of different Haitian presidents destroyed entirely the Haitian economy. Now you have the Dominican economy rising because they were investing in what was the commodity that everyone needed at the time. All right. Now, Dominican Republic, again, it was short-lived, that freedom. Because in 1915, something interesting happened, and that started happening all around Latin America. The United States started to get involved more in Latin America. As such, in 1915, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson sent U.S. Marines to Haiti and ended up occupying the entire country until 1960. So now things were reversed a bit. While the Dominican Republic saw U.S. involvement as well, it was not as bad as the one that was in Haiti, right? Because the U.S. went to Haiti, took the gold back to the Bank of New York, and controlled the Haitian affairs for nearly 34 years. Now, the Dominican Republic, meanwhile, they still had U.S. involvement, but it was more so U.S. investments into particular industries, whether it was tourism, kind of like the same way the U.S. did in Cuba. So now you had one side of the island that was prosperous enough, the Dominican Republic, and another side that simply was a proxy for the United States, especially during a time after World War II. Fast forward a little bit to the 1930s. U.S. crony Rafael Trujillo began his 31 year of terror as a dictator in the Dominican Republic. Trujillo, if you go through the history book, to me personally, was probably the equivalent of Adolf Hitler minus the gas chambers. This man was pure evil. In 1937, Trujillo, even though he was of darker complexion, that's a guy that was actually using makeup to lighten up his skin, just so you get the picture. Believe he should whiteify the Dominican Republic per se. So as such, in 1937, he had what was called the Persil Massacre. The Dominican military slaughtered thousands of Haitians near the border on Trujillo's order. One of the island's darkest chapters. Mind you, under the 22 years of Haitian occupation of the Dominican Republic, the history books have not reported a single massacre. But Trujillo wanted to actually get rid of the Haitians that were there, or people of darker skin. A lot of Dominicans of darker skin actually ended up being massacred by Trujillo in 1936. And get this, this is a guy who used pronunciating a word to determine whether or not you were Dominican. If you could not say the word Persil, so you were not Dominican. Parcillo. So as a result, he ended up killing all these people near a river that actually earned the nickname of the Massacre River. Believe it or not. That's what the Haitians ended up calling it. And today, that river is known as the Massacre River. That's going to be important later to remember. Now, in 1957, something interesting happened. Haiti now, under the darker rule of Papa Doc François Duvalier, entered his rule of terror. Just like Trujillo was on the other side with the Dominicans, Papa Doc was on the next side with the Haitians terrorizing and consolidating power through fear and armed tug. 1971, Duvalier, François Duvalier that is, died. His son, Jean-Claude Duvalier, Baby Doc, took over and became president for life of Haiti. Now, I hope you understand the dynamics going on. You have a lot of instability, political turmoil in Haiti. And then the Dominican Republic was more so steady despite the dictatorship of Trujillo, who still had the backing of the United States and the millions of dollars to sustain the economy there. In 1986, Haiti's trouble and descent towards anarchy began. Duvalier, Jean-Claude Duvalier that was, left the country, not in his own accord, because of popular uprising. The Haitians ended his rule of terror and that of his father. That was 1988. And from 1988 until today, Haiti has had its fair share of democratically elected presidents and government, but only to be deposed through coups or through assassination, as was the case for former president, or the assassinated president, I should say, Jovenel Moïse. Let's not forget, 2010, Haiti was ravaged by a magnitude 7.6 earthquake that ended up killing over 200,000 people. Now, due to that earthquake, there were already Haitians on the move to the Dominican Republic, meaning migrating. Despite the massacres, despite everything else, a lot of Haitians actually went there to the Dominican Republic to cut sugar canes and work the sugarcane industry. As the Dominican economy transcended, well, the Haitians became a vital part of that economy, building houses, working the fields, working the hotels, doing everything necessary to help sustain the Dominican economy while sustaining themselves and their family back in Haiti. The earthquake of 2010 now created a mass exodus of Haitians towards the Dominican Republic. Understand what happened. If there's a border, there are great conflicts at home, more than likely people are going to cross the border, i.e. United States and Mexico's relationship. If you offer more stability economically or politically, people are more inclined to travel to your shores to seek shelter. And that's what's happened with the Haitians after the 2010 earthquake. They started leaving Haiti en masse and started going to the DR, whether it was to study, to work, to seek better life, better opportunity. Now, mind you, other borders opened up after that as well. A lot of Haitians ended up going to Chile, to Argentina, to Brazil, so on and so forth. 2013, hundreds of thousands of Dominicans born to Haitian parents are left stateless after the Dominican Republic's highest court rules that such people are not entitled to citizenship. The ruling actually led to protests in front of the Central Electoral Board in Santo Domingo. What happened is that the Dominicans or the Dominican highest court and the Dominican government decided they would recognize what's called the Just Soli laws only for certain countries. Haitians were excluded, Haitians being the biggest majority of immigrants there in that country. So if you're from Venezuela and you ended up having a kid on their soil, their land, that's what Just Soli means. Well, that kid was a Dominican. However, if that kid was born of Haitian parents, well, that kid was not Dominican. If that's not discriminatory, please tell me what is. That's the context you need to understand. In 2013, overnight, a lot of folks that thought they were Dominicans were left stateless, were left without papers, were left without a homeland. To include politicians, actually, too. Dominican politicians. Fast forward to today. The Dominican president, Abinader, has decided to send its military, or his military, to the borders after he shut down the borders. Over Haitian farmers that actually decided to build a canal from that same river Massacre River, that we've been talking about in the northwest part of Haiti. The body of that river is about 60% in Haiti on Haitian soil, about 40% on Dominican soil. From the last count, the Dominican Republic had built about 14 different canals to distribute the waters through farmers in the Dominican Republic. This canal that the Haitians are building is the very first one. That was started by the assassinated President Jovenel Moïse. A year before his assassination, Jovenel Moïse realized there were a lot of conflicts. He put together a technical commission to study the issue, a bipartisan, meaning on both sides, bilateral, I should say rather, both sides of the island to study the issue from a technical standpoint. Of course, a year later, he was assassinated. The funding for the canal kind of stopped until recently. A bunch of poor Haitian farmers started to pull resources together despite the security crisis, despite the government of Haiti of Ariel Henry leaving them on their own, well, these people decided, well, we still need water to farm our land. They pull their resources together to ensure that they can finish that canal. That is what Abinader has sent his soldiers to stop right now. The pressure from them is, if I shut down the border, Haitians can no longer travel to the Dominican Republic, then they'll cave and stop building the canal, because he wants them to stop building the canal. To the point where Abinader actually decided to put anyone, journalists or otherwise, that support that movement on a no-fly list of the Dominican Republic. Abinader must be Trujillo's late grandson, because while he might think he can control the press in the Dominican Republic, that is not the case around the globe. What President Abinader is doing is shameful. It's anti-Dominican. It's anti-Western values. You don't hold people in front of machine guns simply because they're trying to farm and provide for themselves and their families. Not stealing from you, not stealing from your country, but because they're trying on their own to find ways where they don't have to go to the Dominican Republic and undergo the humiliating daily struggles from the government of the Dominican Republic and some of the people of the Dominican Republic. Believe it or not, the Dominican Republic and the Dominican people are great people. They are people of love. They are people of fraternity. But you still have some few that harbor some very extremist views that we must counter. Whether you're in the United States or Africa, you must denounce what is going on in the Dominican Republic. It's been since 2013 that those discriminatory policies have been implemented. The world has remained silent. You know the worst part about this? This same Abinader is the one that supposedly is advocating on behalf of Haiti to send a multinational military force to help curb the violence in Haiti. So let me understand this, Mr. President. Here you are as the advocate, as the good guy that wants Haitians to live in peace in their countries, that wants to tell the United States, please send this force, that force. On one hand, that's what you're saying. You want peace in Haiti. Yet, when the people of Haiti actually try to peacefully develop a canal that will help feed their children, i.e., that will socially create jobs and impact those communities, you raise your military and send it to its borders to actually threaten those poor people? The shameful part remains as well from the United States of America. I have not heard anyone from the State Department, Secretary Blinken or otherwise, or anyone from the Biden administration denounce President Abinader and his overzealous and overaggressive stance against some poor Haitian farmers. Again, this is anti-Western values. When you have issues, international cross-border issues, there are ways to resolve them. The military is the last resort. What's even more shameful is that Haiti today does not have a standing military to counter what Abinader is doing. So, Mr. Abinader, you're just a bully. That's what you are. And folks, this is our quick history about the situation between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. This is a situation that is fast evolving. We pray for peace. We hope for peace. We hope for cooler heads to prevail. Because when you have 50 cal machine guns mounted on vehicles and you have poor farmers trying to develop a waterways for themselves and their kids, at any moment, that situation can descend into chaos. All it will take, unfortunately, is for a hairy-triggered Dominican soldier to massacre once more some poor Haitians. This time, it's not Trujillo that's going to do it over a pronunciation of a word, but it's going to be under Abinader's command, bullying some poor people that are simply trying to feed their families. You're listening to The Baptist Show and watching us from across the globe. We thank you. Up next, we're going to dive right into some of the headline news around the world. All right, folks, without further ado, so we talked about the Nigerian Federation that decided to reinstate their president. Nigeria's Football Federation says Aminu Maigari has been reinstated as president after he was forced out of office during the World Cup, leading to the country's being banned from all football by FIFA. The NFF said that Maigari returned to work on Monday morning. Maigari was sacked by the government on his return to Nigeria following the team's elimination at the World Cup in Brazil. That led FIFA to suspend Nigeria on July 9th because of government interference, which the world body does not allow. The suspension was lifted 9 days later on the condition that Maigari would be reinstated. In Monday's statement, NFF official Emeka Inyama said there were disagreements and a misunderstanding for a number of weeks, but FIFA has cleared the air. Remember, Nigeria is the current African champion. Quite interesting because FIFA, as an international body, for those of you that are not aware, in the world of soccer, govern soccer in its entirety. One of the things that FIFA always stand with is that no matter what, they don't want government interference. So what's a little bit disturbing about this matter is that, let's say, for instance, that it was due to corruption and it was proven in a court of law, would FIFA still back the return of President Naigari to head the Nigerian Federation? That is something that's worth exploring a little more. So we'll definitely dig a little deeper and come back during the week and give you some more context on it. But again, FIFA, being the international body of world football, always carry that stake that, hey, if you interfere from a government standpoint, from a court standpoint, we reserve the right to suspend football in your country. And obviously, when football is as big as it is in Nigeria, across Africa, most countries don't want to be suspended by FIFA. So what do? They often, not to say always, they often cave to FIFA and abduct and actually give FIFA what FIFA wants. It will be interesting to see if FIFA reacts the same, if it's a court decision from the Spanish government, for instance. And we know what was about to happen in Spain recently. So I dare ask the question, if things were reversed, would FIFA still remain in opposition and actually get their man to stay in charge despite government interference? Also, in the news today, we have 5 prisoners sought by the U.S. in a swap with Iran. They were freed on Monday and headed home as part of a deal that saw nearly $6 billion in Iranian assets unfrozen. Despite the deal, tensions are almost certain to remain high between the U.S. and Iran, which are locked in various disputes, including over Tehran's nuclear program. Iran says the program is peaceful, but it now enriches uranium closer than ever to weapons-grade level. The planned exchange was unfolded amid a major American military buildups in the Persian Gulf, with the possibility of U.S. troops boarding and guarding commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. If you don't know, one of the busiest straits of when it comes to trading, especially oil trading, which 20% actually of oil ship pass through the Strait of Hormuz between Israel and the Arab world, actually. Today, 5 innocent Americans who were imprisoned in Iran are finally coming home. President Joe Biden said in a statement released as the plane carrying the group from Tehran landed in Doha, Qatar. After the plane slowed to a stop, 3 of the prisoners walked down the ramp and were greeted by the U.S. ambassador to Qatar, Timmy Davis. The former prisoners hugged the ambassador and others. The 3, Siamak Namazi, Emad Shargi, and Morad Tabaz, then wrapped their arms around their shoulders and walked off to a building in the airport. In a statement issued on his behalf after landing, Namazi said, "I would not be free today if it wasn't for all of you who didn't allow the world to forget me. Thank you for being my voice when I could not speak for myself and for making sure I was heard when I mustered the strength to scream from behind the impenetrable walls of Evin prison," Namazi said. In addition to the 5 freed Americans, 2 U.S. family members flew out to Tehran, according to a senior Biden administration official who spoke on condition of anonymity when the exchange was ongoing. Earlier, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasser Kanani said that the exchange will take place Monday after nearly $6 billion in once frozen Iranian assets reached Qatar. Fortunately, Iran's frozen assets in South Korea were released, and God willing, today the assets will start to be fully controlled by the government and the nation, Kanani said. All right, guys. With respect to prisoner swaps and deals, let's dive into this as one of the last piece that we'll lend an opinion on for today before we go to some of the results in college football and call it a day here. $6 billion for 5 prisoners. Clearly, I am beyond happy for those folks and their families because freedom, again, is one of the greatest things that any human being can have in this planet, let alone when you're in prison under false pretenses, it's even worse. So I can't begin to imagine what they are feeling and their families are feeling. I mean, I'm happy for them. I'm happy for their families. The next statements are not about the prisoners. We wanted them to be free. They are free. We are happy for them. But now, when you talk about the cost for this freedom by President Biden, is it the right move? Was it the right move? That's the question. Because keep in mind, for over a decade now almost, Iran and the U.S. have been going at it, where the U.S. Have been trying to ensure Iran does not reach nuclear grade level uranium enrichment. They suspended the program, Iran that is, after being offered some kind of incentive by the West to include, Germany and France. So now they have $6 billion at their disposal again when they are so close to having nuclear weapons. That's what we are hearing. Now, you guys remember when Brittany Griner was in prison? Some from the right, when it comes to the United States, were adamant that she should have known better. She should have kept out of Russian affairs. So she deserved to be in prison, basically, over what essentially was pressure by the Russians and President Vladimir Putin to use her in some kind of leverage to get their men. And even then, we said that it was a hefty cost when it comes to the exchange. You had an armed dealer, the Master of Death, whatever his nickname was, after he sold so many weapons to so many states and individuals, that was freed in exchange for Brittany Griner. It wasn't $6 billion. Yet people were more vocal about it. So my question remains, was this too costly of a deal for the United States? Because it's not now that we need to worry about it. It's later down the road when Iran actually have those nuclear weapons and U.S. have to send more troops to the Middle East rather than withdrawing them from the Middle East. Those are the real costs. Those costs are not going to be monetary. They're going to be in human lives and human sacrifices. Keep in mind, one of the biggest reasons why most of the Western world did not want Iran to have nuclear weapons is because of Israel. Because the common belief at the time and now is once Iran has those nuclear weapons, what to say they're not going to wipe off Israel from the face of the earth, which was one of the statements some of their previous leaders stated. They still don't recognize Israel as a state. Now imagine Israel with nuclear weapons as well. So what happened when you have two states in the Middle East with nuclear weapons ready and willing to use those nuclear weapons? It's a dangerous, dangerous state of affairs. I'm not here to say who deserves to have nuclear weapons or who don't. But we know 1 + 1 = 2. So that means if both nations are armed and ready to deploy those nukes, we as humans are going to have a lot of problems on our hands. So President Biden today, it appears, have made those nuclear aspirations by the Iranian government much closer to reality than they were 5 prisoners ago. Again, we're happy for the family of those falsely imprisoned folks that are freed today. We're happy for them. But this story is far, far from being over. You're watching and listening to The Baptist Show. Always a pleasure to come into your homes Mondays through Fridays, 10 a.m. to 11:30. We're going to end today with some college football. What a weekend of college football that it was. Folks, if you are not watching, man, watch that game almost to the end there. And I did miss the overtime. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I wish I'd stayed up and finished watching it. Colorado State versus the University of Colorado Buffaloes. My goodness, what a game that was. What a game. I will tell you guys, I'm very fond of Coach Deion Sanders. I feel personally. He's a heck of a man. He's a heck of a leader, and he's a very uniting figure. Coach Prime, in my humble opinion, is one that builds communities rather than destroying them. So wherever he's at, he's always impactful. He's always have that effect. Whereas it brings them immediate success. When you're looking at his coaching staff, you will understand what I'm talking about because that's one of the most diverse coaching staff that I've seen in across all sports, not just American football or what have you, or college football. It's across all sports, and it's impressive. It's impressive to see. So the Buffs actually started the game kind of rough. Coach Sanders' team was struggling on offense throughout the evening. But as the game progressed, it seems like they started to find their footing more and more. Coach Prime's son, Shadora Sanders, Shadora actually had a heck of a finish. He drove the ball from like 98 yards, basically. Tom Brady, like, to score that one touchdown that the team needed before scoring the extra point or throwing for the extra point. When they went for two in the end there, I mean, the young man looked so calm and collected. It's like I've been there before. And they did ask him afterwards too. And he said that's something that they do 100 times in practice. So it was normal for him to go out there. Those are called the 2-minute drill, by the way, in football, where it's 2 minutes on the clock and you got to drive your offense down the field and try to go score a tying touchdown. Why is that important? It's important because when a young man at his age, Shador that is, can do that at this level under the limelights and the pressure, he might be NFL ready. We don't know yet. It's only 3 games. His father, again, he's doing a heck of a job coaching that team. So it's a matter of time to see if Shador is gonna end up on some of the NFL teams' radars before the draft. And when I say it on their radar, I know he's gonna make it to the NFL. It's a matter of is he gonna be a top 10 pick. Let's see how he delivers. But he had 1 interception, 4 touchdowns, amazing stats across the board from Shador Sanders. Other games that took place this weekend, we had other games that took place this weekend. We also had Alabama that played USF. Alabama pulled one, and Coach Saban is not too happy because that game was 17-3. Alabama struggled on offense the entire game. So let's see what happened. He still hasn't named Coach Saban, that is, an actual quarterback to take over the team offense. Also, we had the Canes that played Benton Cookman 48-7. That was the score. Miami is 3-0. So my Canes are 3-0. I've yet to watch a single game this season from Miami, so I have to get back on that because those are my Canes. We had Florida State playing Boston College 31-29. Very close game. Wyoming got destroyed by Texas 31-10. Ohio State did their thing 63-10 against Western Kentucky. Penn State actually won 30-13. Washington defeated Michigan State 41-7. Notre Dame 41-17. They beat Central Michigan. Florida versus Tennessee, that was a very good game as well, 29-16. So that's always a big affair when you have the Volunteers facing the Gators. So the Florida teams are doing their thing this season. Oregon actually won 55-10 versus Hawaii. The other big game this past weekend was LSU, Louisiana State University, that are ranked 14 in the FBS ranking here. They beat Mississippi State 41-14. We were expecting a bit more of a showdown, but hey, it was supposed to be a good game on paper. Georgia Tech lost 23-48 against Ole Miss. And again, like I said, Colorado State lost 43-35 in double overtime versus Colorado. Those were some of the games that took place this weekend. The interesting thing about college football, if you are not into it, is the rivalries that exist in that sport. If you're a soccer fan, I get it. it might be hard to start getting into, but trust me, when you're looking at the student bodies of those different schools, 40, 50, 60,000, 70,000 of those screaming fans, it's a great atmosphere for any sports lovers, any sports enthusiasts, really. So if you get a chance to watch some college football, for me personally, I love the Florida teams, except when they're playing the Canes. So Miami's my team. If you get a chance to watch them this season, they're still in a rebuilding effort for like almost 10, 15 years. They're still my team, so I still ride with them no matter what. Also, as I've mentioned, Coach Prime is doing an excellent job in Boulder, Colorado. When you see the scenery there, it's amazing. This is a program that have been on a losing streak for the past 2 seasons, where they've already outperformed the current team in 3 games. They've outperformed all the stats from their last 2 seasons. That goes to show you how serious of a contender these young men have become in less than 6 months here since Coach Prime was recruited to head that program. Guys, we discussed a lot of things today. So in the wind down here, I'm gonna do a quick recap of what we've discussed before we end today's show. The Dominican Republic situation with Haiti is one that's again very shameful, very unfortunate, because the sadder part about it is you have himself, and why is that important? When we give you the breakdown in the history of the island, you always have the mulatto aspects where you have the lighter skinned Dominicans discriminating against Dominicans of darker skin, and even more so against Haitians from the other side of the island. Trujillo, who was not light skinned, was using makeup to actually bleach his skin, if you want to call it that, uh, had one of the worst genocide in the region here in Latin America, without anyone basically slapping him on the wrist for it. So that's something that people don't even talk about. The numbers till this day are shifty. So when you have that kind of a history, it's worrisome that a mulatto president in Abinader will actually or would actually consider amassing military troops on the border to face poor farmers without weapons. It's very important to know this. These are the same people that are crying every day that gangsters have overran their streets, have taken over their lives. So how do you, in good conscience, send the military, close the border, and threaten to escalate things if they don't stop building a canal that should be driving water to their farms where they can provide a better life for themselves or their family? We went and broke down the history between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Yes, Haiti did occupy the Dominican Republic for 22 years, but Haiti went on a regression right after that through political turmoil and instability. The Haitian economy never recovered post 1915 when the U.S. went in, took the gold, and Haiti was still paying reparation to the French, actually. So as a result, things got from bad to worse for Haiti and the Haitians. So today, you do have a lot of Haitians in the Dominican Republic seeking a better life, working the different industries in DR, whether it's the service industry, whether it's the farming industry, sugar canes cutting is huge. Again, this is the backdrop and the context of what's going on between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. It's connected to you because if things are happening as it is in the DR, more Haitians are going to travel to the shores of the United States. It's a fact. If I cannot turn to my immediate land border neighbor, I'm going to get to sea and go somewhere else where we have better opportunities. That is precisely why I don't understand why the Biden administration is basically staying quiet on this and not doing much to resolve the issue as quickly as possible. The more the border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic remain closed, the more likely Haitians are to seize in desperation to make it to the United States. It's that simple. Which in and itself is going to create a broader humanitarian crisis and issue for the United States. So foreign policy is not simply about reacting. That's a message for the Biden administration. It's about preventing as well. Secretary Blinken from the State Department have been dragging his feet for months, trying to put together a coalition of nations to go and help Haiti. If you ask yourself, well, why is that his responsibility? After you occupy a country for nearly 35 years and took their gold, you kind of owe them something. after you actually went and removed the actual blacks that freed the country from power and ensured you established the mulattoes in that country as the ruling class, and you did not help rebuild the social fabrics of that nation and foster collaboration between blacks and mulattoes in that nation, well, you kind of owe it that, because Haiti is long overdue for national dialogue when it comes to its different class and whatnot. So as a result, Haiti is descending faster into a hellish situation. My question remains, when is the Biden administration going to do more than saying we're trying? At this point, trying is not enough, because on one end, you have the gangsters taking over the streets of Haiti. On the other hand, you have the bully that Abinader is amassing troops to the Haitian borders and pressuring farmers to stop building a canal. The next stage, unfortunately, is Haitians leaving Haiti en masse for the shores of the United States. I don't think any of us want to see that, a repeat of Guantanamo Bay back in the 90s, when Haitians felt desperate enough to risk their lives at sea and come seek better lives in the United States. This is the Baptist Show. We also discuss college football, Iranian situation, $6 billion for the 5 prisoners that were freed. Kudos to the Biden administration for doing so. But again, the cost of it all is the question here. Thank you so much for watching the Baptist Show. We've been live. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Please share, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. If you have any questions, please do reach out. Baptiste, Baptiste, S, and then show, SHOW, @gmail.com. BaptisteShow@gmail.com. BaptisteSSHOW @gmail.com. Thank you for watching.